Good morning.
Good evening. This is Jimmy Two Time. I'm Double AP, bringing you another episode of Yinzology.
Study of everything Pittsburgh. Double A and I chose 5 movies that were filmed in Pittsburgh that we think are important movies from Pittsburgh. And Double A, why do they film so many movies in Pittsburgh?
Number one, it's on the cheap. It doesn't cost as much. Two, phenomenal architecture. You can go back to the 1920s, the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and you can find buildings and landscapes, no problem.
The aesthetically pleasing to the eye views that Pittsburgh gives you.
From what I understand, there's very little red tape, and everybody loves Yinzers. All the actors love Pittsburgh. Now, some of you may be wondering, why are we doing this remotely when we live right down the street from one another? And this is a trial run for us to practice technology because we want to try maybe in the future doing remote interviews. And I'm over here at Three Rivers Studio.
I'm coming to you live from the Yinzology 4122 studio.
Hey, if Phil Collins can make up words, Jimmy Two Time, you can make up words.
It's a made-up word that I still don't know what that means, but all I know is Sue Studio. That's all I know.
You younger Yinzers, we're talking about Phil Collins, who used to be one of the band members of Genesis.
Hey, Double A, I saw Genesis down at Three Rivers Stadium. I was the guy that was standing National Record Mart. I was a guy back in the day that would stand on top of the Dipsy dumpster. Remember how you'd sleep out? And I got tickets for myself. I was 4 rows back from the stage, and I watched Phil Collins have a drum solo for like 25 minutes. It was awesome. Great show.
I saw Phil Collins twice, and not only did he do a drum solo, but 2 drum sets came down from the rafters, and one was Phil, and one was his regular drummer, and they had a battle of the drums. Do you know how bad we digressed? We were supposed to be doing movies, and we're into music. Listen. Anything filmed in Pittsburgh or around the surrounding areas of the Western PA. Let's get started. Start us off with number 5.
Back in 1983, All the Right Moves. Tom Cruise and a couple of the cast members actually came to Pittsburgh before the filming even started and wanted to integrate themselves into a high school. And the movie's premise is a star athlete, star football player in high school, some mishaps at one of the championship games or towards the end of the season. The coach fires him because he lashes back out at the coach. And ultimately, the coach goes out to California and transfers out there to become the head coach and recruits Tom Cruise to come out there. So it was kind of a rags to riches type of thing. But he actually, the story goes, he tried to integrate himself into the high school before they started filming. And no one in the high school knew who Tom Cruise was because this was, like I said, before he became famous with all the Top Guns, with all the Mission Impossibles and everything else. But a lot of these movies are filmed in old steel towns. This one actually is in Johnstown, based on a town, Ambridge. And that's kind of near and dear to my heart because my grandparents and my mom grew up in Baden, which is right in Ambridge, right down 65, Dairy Queen, the Ambridge area. But a lot of these steel towns that started to go down whenever steel started going away and the coal mines and everything started closing, the high school students tried to make it to college so they could get out of those more diminished type of towns. Former campus of the Greater Johnstown High School was where most of the filming took place, and they used that high school field along with Point Stadium. And I remember Point Stadium, but I don't remember what the name of the stadium is now, even if it's still there. But back in the day, it was Point Stadium where they had a lot of filming.
Nice. That's a good start.
My number 5.
Well, we didn't plan this. I have a Tom Cruise movie, and it's Jack Reacher, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, because he worked with Tom Cruise with Top Gun Maverick, and then also one of the Mission Impossibles. There's a series of books by Lee Childs. They're very popular. And Tom Cruise, when you read the books, is not what you have in mind I was kind of bummed out that it was Tom Cruise, but he got it started. And that whole movie is so fun to watch as a Yinzer because the whole movie is just, we're talking Allegheny River, Stanwyck Apartments, Mario's down on the South Side, the Strip District,
No.
South Side Slopes, Ohio River Boulevard, Sewickley, 10th Street Bridge. Then you have the Riverfront Walk where the shootings take place, Mazeroski Way and PNC Park, the crossing of the Monongahela, the South Side Flats. They're in Armstrong Tunnel. There's this car scene. Rachel Carson Bridge, the 9th Street Bridge. That's funny. They edit, if you're not from Pittsburgh, you wouldn't know this, but they edit the bridge. They go from the tunnel to the bridge as if it's one road. And it's like, that was two different locations. If it weren't for Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise, we wouldn't have Jack Reacher on Amazon, the TV series. And that actor, that guy is who you imagine when you read the books. And there's some sort of connection with Pittsburgh. Some writer on that Amazon series, they keep showing the Clark Bar. And if you are not from Pittsburgh, the Clark Bar was the first Clark Bar that was a combination bar. It had a center filling. Jack Reacher was a military brat who had to move from military base to military base. His dad was in the military. So the only thing that was consistent in his life was the candy machine. And every candy machine on the military base had the Clark Bar. And that's real history. That's true in the Clark Bar history.
That's number 5. Number 4, Dark Knight Rises. Producer Christopher Nolan. He also produced The Prestige, Inception, a movie that just came out that I'm actually looking forward to seeing myself. I haven't seen it yet. Oppenheimer. He was included in that. This is actually, believe it or not, Double A, the biggest movie ever produced in Pittsburgh. It's the highest grossing. It grossed over $1 billion with a B worldwide. Massive.
That's crazy.
Massive movie, and brought in a whole ton of money. Iconic scenes from Three Rivers Stadium, where that number one, they changed Pittsburgh into Gotham City. You had Hines Ward in the movie. You had Big Ben in the movie. I believe even Heath Miller may have been in the movie. The producer of the movie, one of the producers, Thomas Tall, actually was, and I think still is, a minority owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
My number 4 is Kingpin with Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson and Randy Quaid, directed by Peter and Bobby Farrelly, who are brothers, did Dumb and Dumber and What About Mary? And rumor has it that they wanted Chris Farley, but he was locked into Paramount. He had just finished, Tommy Boy, and they were about to do Black Sheep, so he had to say no. And if it weren't for Randy Quaid, he's the one that talked Bill Murray into coming along. There are some shots that are filmed in Trafford, PA. The apartment building is still there, and it looks exactly the same. And right next to the apartment building is the Trafford Memorial Bridge, and there's a scene with Woody Harrelson there. Then there's a couple other scenes that take place in Mars, PA. There's the bowling alley, and then across the street, it's now a beer distributor and / school bus garage. And I was at that beer distributor not too long ago getting Donnie C's Pop. Is it from Wilkesboro? That's where I found the Lion Head beer.
Lion's Head beer, yeah.
I was on site, on location where they were. But then at the end of the movie, my favorite music band is the Blues Travelers. And Peter and Bobby Farrelly are huge harmonica fans. So they asked John Popper and Blues Travelers to play one of their songs while the ending credits are going, and they're dressed up in traditional Amish costumes because one of the characters, Ishmael, is Amish. What do you got for number 3?
On here, my number 3, and this is kind of near and dear to my heart. My number 3 is Sudden Death, produced by Peter Hyams. Produced this. Hyams produced Time Cop. They came out before this, and this came out, like I said, 1995. So Hyams wanted to have nothing to do with this movie at all. But since Jean-Claude Van Damme was in Time Cop as well, Van Damme kind of convinced Hyams.
How do you say his name?
Jean-Claude. Clark.
You said it like a Yinzer. You're like Gene Van.
Clyde Van Dam.
All right, go ahead.
Originally, the screenplay was going to be a comedy and action movie. Only scene AA that they kept from that comedy action screenplay was whenever Van Dam fought the Pittsburgh Penguin mascot. That was the only part of the movie, and I think that was supposed to be more of the comic relief, comedic type of scene, but that was the only really scene that they kept from the original screenplay. So I found that very interesting. And I mentioned the Penguins once again. One of the iconic parts, one of the iconic scenes in the movie is whenever they're at the old Civic Arena, at the Igloo, if you will, and did star some of the Penguin players. Luke Robitaille was in that. The announcer in the game was actually the old announcer for the Penguins, Mike Lang. So I was actually in that extra. My wife, girlfriend at the time, she and I went down there at like 11 o'clock at night, and we sat outside because they had to open up the roof of the Igloo, and we sat there freezing next to like cardboard cutout people. It's right here. Let's see if I can get that on there. Is my ticket from when I was extra at that movie, Sudden Death, and it says I sat outside for like $50 for 8 hours, and I got free admission, and I got one free refreshment, and I was able to win some prizes. And that's what it says on this ticket. But I was number 3,400, as this says, as the extra 3,400, and I had to enter gate 1 at the arena. So near and dear to my heart, great movie.
Well, I knew this was going to be on your list, that you were in this movie, so I wore this, the Igloo.
There you go.
All right, good movie. All right, my number 3, we're on 3, is Foxcatcher with Stephen Carell. I'm a huge Office fan. I love Stephen Carell. This was a more serious role for Stephen, and he paired up with Channing Tatum. Well, Western PA is known for football, but a lot of Yinzers might not know Western PA is also known for Greco-Roman wrestlers. And I pulled up a stat from 1960 to 2011. That's 50 years. We had more D1 All-Americans coming out of Western PA. We were number 1 with over 500. And then Iowa came in second, and Ohio came in third. DuPont Estates is just outside of Philly. I think that's Newport, PA, and then the actual mansion is in Virginia. A lot of this movie was made in Western PA, in Swickley Heights, Rolling Rock Farms, West Mifflin, McKeesport down there in the old Arby's, William Penn Hotel, Washington, PA, Monroeville, and we are one of the toughest in the nation with wrestlers that have in-depth skills, including our high school.
Ray Brinzer, one of the best high school wrestlers ever. I graduated with a guy named Mike Norton, Richie Catalano, Ty and T. Moore, Coach Giagostino, who I think was in the 72 Olympics. Good wrestlers, really good fundamental wrestlers. Western Pennsylvania is very well known for their high school wrestling.
Yeah. All right, what's your number 2?
Number 2, 1978, Deer Hunter. This is you have to be in the right mindset to watch this. This is a very, very heavy movie to watch. Produced by Michael Cimino, who also produced The Year of the Dragon and The Sicilian. This movie is set in Clairton, and it's about 3 Pennsylvania steelworkers that would go hunting. They would go deer hunting all the time. Joined the military, and they went over to Vietnam, and it just shows the transformation of being just a regular guy, a regular Joe, going to Vietnam and coming back and trying to integrate yourself and acclimate yourself back into society. Very controversial movie as well. The Best Picture, it won the Best Actor in a Supporting Role. It won the Best Director. Point movie about Vietnam and the effects that the war had on people. So you have to be in the right mindset, though.
The Deer Hunter definitely has that cold, gray sky, like that
Yeah.
steel metal feel in the background. Even though we were going through the Renaissance and they were trying to clean up the city, even today, you can go outside the city, like you said, in these rural, small towns, you can still get that dirty, ugly, raw feel that filmmakers are like looking for. So, yeah, that was really good. My number two isn't, I kind of sneaked it in. It's technically not a movie, but it's technically not a TV series. Okay. I don't know where
Oh,
this falls in because it's Billy Gardell's halftime comedy special for Comedy Central. Billy Gardell is a Yinzer. He was born and raised in Swissville until his parents divorced. He had to go to Florida, but then because his parents were divorced, he'd come back every summer to Pittsburgh. So he's a Yinzer. You might know him as Mike from Mike and Molly, the TV series. And he was a really big guy, but then he just had stomach surgery, and now he's really super skinny. He looks totally different. And the reason I had to put this on my list is, you know how every comedy special has an intro. Well, his intro, I swear he's in a Bonneville. He's in this big old car driving around Pittsburgh, and he turns on the radio, and he turns on WDVE, and those two guys come on. He's driving on bridges. He's going up to Mount Washington. He's going all over the Berg. And then he comes out on stage, and it looks like a row house from Pittsburgh. I think it's his home that he grew up in. It's a picture of his house behind him, and it looks like a typical mill house, like a steel mill row house. And he says, listen, guys, folks listening at home, I need 45 seconds here just because he came back to Pittsburgh. He really wanted to do his first comedy special. He wanted to come back home. Or 45 seconds just to say hello to my friends here in Pittsburgh. Then he goes into this whole Yinzer, Pittsburghese, jumbo. We'll get some chip top ham. He talks about gum bands and what about that spigot? And then did you eat yet? And then he's got to take a shower. And he went into a whole Yinzer spiel. And if you want an introduction into Pittsburghese, go on to Amazon Prime and just watch the halftime Billy Gardell Comedy Central special. Hey, what's your number one?
Hey, Michael, if you're listening, number one, scarier movies that I've seen. He puts the lotion on. Silence of the Lambs, 1991. I think it may have been one of the better performances by Anthony Hopkins. I think it is. I think it's amazing.
And Jodie Foster.
But
and the Psycho guy, unfortunately he did a good job too. A little too good.
Yeah. Wild Bill. But produced by Jonathan Demme, who also produced The Manchurian Candidate, also produced, directed Philadelphia. Now, you mentioned Jodie Foster. Did you know that Michelle Pfeiffer was supposed to be what Jodie Foster was?
I didn't know that.
Pfeiffer turned it down because I think it was the depth of the character and it was real morbid stuff. So it was inspired by one of the most notorious serial killers. The house was in Fayette County, which is about 30 miles south of Pittsburgh. So the basement scene of she puts the lotion on, that was actually filmed in a Pittsburgh warehouse. Filming also took place in Cannonsburg, Shaler Township. Back in the day, this was at the time the third movie ever to win Academy Awards in all 5 major categories, which I think now, I don't think any movie would be able to do that. I think that Hollywood tries to stop movies from doing that just because they want to kind of spread the wealth. But this, all 5 major categories, they won an award. So that to me is crazy. They had a $19 million budget, turning it into $270 million.
My number one, Jimmy Two Time, he kind of made fun of me for this one because a lot of it was filmed. Well, most of it was filmed in Illinois, but it is Groundhog Day with, again, Bill Murray, a weatherman from Pittsburgh. And so you see he has to go to Punxsutawney, PA, Western PA, and they show his van and they do an aerial shot of Pittsburgh and the Three Rivers. But Groundhog Day was directed by, you remember, Harold Ramis was Igor from Ghostbusters. And he was also Russell in Stripes. And he also directed Caddyshack. So all these movies have Bill Murray. They've been working together. These guys are obviously good friends. Even though it was filmed in Illinois, you think the whole movie is a nod or you're recognizing our Western PA. It started in 1887, the Little Woodchuck, the true weatherman. And you can still go there every year in February. You can go to Punxsutawney, PA. That is why it made number one. I love Bill Murray, and I love that movie, and that's my number one movie.
That is, you know what? I'm going to give that, as Siskel and Ebert would say, I'm going to give that.
Talking before the internet, Siskel and Ebert,
yeah,
they were the true pioneers of the like button. They either did thumbs up or thumbs down. They invented the like button.
It was on Saturday mornings. And if you woke up, I don't know, like I grew up by Showcase Cinema North, and we'd wake up Saturday and we watch Siskel and Ebert, my brother and I, and we would see what movie was coming out. And if you give it a thumbs up or thumb down, and then we walked on a half a mile down to the Showcase Cinema North, and we watched 2 or 3 movies sometimes whenever they came out, and it was only on the advice of Siskel and Ebert. We would go because everyone trusted them.
Yeah, until one went up and then the other went down, and then you're like, oh my goodness, which one is it? But hey, if you like what you're watching, click the like button now. Give one thumb for Siskel and Ebert. Well, I'm a dude.
And I'm a dude.
I'm a dad. We're two doodads, and we're odd.